Previously on The Chosen People.
Let us craft creatures in our image, imbued with our essence.
God's design for humanity was to bear his image, fill the earth, and share in the joy of creation.
A choice is before you, Adam. You can freely take of the tree of life, nourishing yourself in my abiding love. You could live under the comforting canopy of your Creator, obeying me and partnering with me to cultivate the earth. Or you can reach for the tree of knowledge. You can awaken your mind to the possibility of evil, seize autonomy, and live apart from my blessing.
Maybe it was a lie. Maybe there's something more for me? Heart from God?
Paradise was lost. Adam and Eve sat in the dirt east of Eden, never to return. Their descendants would pine after Eden. Each generation would manufacture ways to reclaim paradise.
Evil grieves his heart. This corruption, this violence, it wasn't his intention.
Blessed are you now, Abel? Do you still feel blessed? Where is your God now?
This world is sick. These people are plagued by evil.
Today we build this tower in defiance of the Creator. Today we seize greatness for ourselves.
But Adam and Eve held on to a promise. One day, a son of Eve would rise to crush the head of the serpent. He would reclaim Eden for humanity. Heaven and earth would be joined once again.
Is this death? Is this the curse God spoke of?
No, Eve. I don't think this is death. I think this is life.
The Chosen People is sponsored by NetWell. Healthcare costs are rising, and it can feel overwhelming. But at NetWell, we believe there's a better way. Imagine being the part of a community, a family where people just like you share medical expenses. With NetWell, you get affordable care without the burden of surprise bills or sky-high premiums. We're more than traditional healthcare sharing. We offer access to trusted providers, telemedicine, dental, and mental health services. Your well-being is our priority, and we're here for you like family. Join the NetWell family today at netwell.com. Affordable care, trusted community, your health, your way.
It isn't about who you were when God chose you. It's about who you will become once you follow him. Shalom, my friends, from here in the Holy Land. I'm Yael Eckstein with International Fellowship of Christians and Jews, and this is The Chosen People. In each episode, we explore the rich tapestry of the Hebrew Bible to uncover lessons that still resonate today. We traverse tales of faith, failure, love, and loss. As we press into the story of Israel, we'll discover what it means to live a life of purpose and step into the calling that God has for each one of us. God chose the nation of Israel on Mount Sinai, but through their story, we will discover one abiding truth, that we are all chosen for something great. So let's begin. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. From the void, he spoke light into existence. He formed the stars, the seas, the land, and all the living creatures. And then, with divine breath, he created humanity in his own image. But then sin entered the world through the mortal mistake of Adam and Eve, and humanity was plunged into a never-ending cycle of rebellion and redemption. From the first sin in Eden to the flood in Noah's time, from the Tower of Babel to the scattering of the nations, the story of Genesis unfolds with a mix of beauty and brokenness. But through it all, God's plan of redemption remains steadfast. His love for his creation is clear and unyielding. And now, as we turn the page to a new chapter, the stage is set for a moment that will echo throughout history. Enter Abram, a man of Ur, living in a world of idols and false gods. Abram is called by the one true God. Abram doesn't yet know God's name, but he's about to discover God's character. In the midst of humanity's wandering and searching, God's voice breaks through it all. The story of Abram is more than ancient history. It's a testament to God's forever faithfulness. It's a beacon of hope. And it's a reminder that we too are part of this divine story. Let's dive in.
Fall is in the air, and that cooler weather calls for an update in your skincare. Moisturizing is key to keeping wrinkles at bay. That's why we need a skincare routine that's easy, fast, and gives us results. Plus, what if your products had thousands of 5-star reviews, were natural and affordable? Well, say hello to Dime Beauty. Dime Beauty is clean, high-end skincare that is affordable, and it really works. Not sure where to start? I highly recommend the Work System. It's everything you need in one powerful package. Take out the guesswork with a proven routine that includes a gentle yet effective cleanser, a super skin toner, 2 incredible serums, and 2 luxurious moisturizers. See what everyone is raving about. From serum sets to the always sold-out retinol alternative TBT cream, you'll find your perfect skincare match. Dime has over 2 million happy customers, and their product reviews are literally 5 stars. Love your skin again. Go to dimebeautyco.com and unlock your discount. That's dimebeautyco.com. That's dimebeautyco.com.
When the time comes to plan your next big getaway, know we got a destination idea for you. Orlando. Just think about it. The thrills at their 15 world-class theme parks, followed by awesome outdoor adventures, amazing food festivals, and top-notch dining spots. Orlando has all that and much more than you'd expect. In Orlando, anything is possible if you can imagine it. Plan your escape today and save at visitorlando.com. That's visitorlando.com for everything you need for an amazing getaway.
The ability to protect our savings and hold on to wealth we can pass down gets harder every day. While currencies rise and fall, one asset has stood the test of time: physical gold. Many are turning to physical gold and silver to help protect accounts like IRAs and 401ks. Text the word iHeart to 50505. Preserve Gold is giving away a free precious metals guide on how to help protect your accounts and get up to $15,000 in free gold and silver with a qualified purchase. Text iHeart to 50505 to claim this offer from Preserve Gold today. PreserveGold.com/iHeart.
Abram exhaled a sigh of relief as the last of the seemingly endless parade of priests, mourners, cousins, servants, and solicitors finally departed. The door snapped shut with the last of them, and the mighty house of Terah stood silent as a tomb. Abram and his nephew, Lot, stood in the doorway of their now deceased patriarch's entryway. The air was heavy with tension, thick enough to be cut with a blade.
And so, another great man of Shem's line has come to pass.
Lot's remark earned him a stern look from Abram. Abram sighed again, retreated further into the dwelling, and collapsed on a bench in the center courtyard of his father's home. His groans fell onto the dusty floor. His thoughts drifted up a level to his father's bedchamber, where a single chair would be left ceremonially empty beside his bed, or rather, his deathbed. It would now be up to him and his only remaining brother, Nahor, to steward their father's legacy. Their father had left for the underworld, leaving a legacy that included his wealth, property, influence, and lineage. However, the latter would prove to be the most difficult for Abram to shoulder. He had yet to produce an heir of his own with his wife Sarai, but he tried not to dwell on that too often, especially for Sarai's sake. It wasn't a new revelation for either of them, and though the hurt was buried deep, the dulled pangs of inadequacy lingered. Attempting not to intrude on Abram's sullen silence, Lot tried to subtly slink into the courtyard and claimed the seat across from Abram. There wasn't anything subtle about Lot. Lot was a simple man of simple pleasures and pursuits. While Abram often thought about lofty and ethereal things, his nephew reserved his attention for the concrete and material. As a result, Lot was predictable, yet still endearing. The thought brought a reluctant grin to Abram's face, and his nephew returned it. Lot broke the silence again.
When do you suppose we'll hear back from Nahor? And more to the point, are we to expect him to reside here in Haran? Will your father's inheritance really be divided among us? Will we live side by side like we did when we were young?
The messengers won't reach her for a few weeks, and I really can't say what Nahor will do. It's been so long since we were under the same roof, or even in the same land. I suppose my father would want me to remain at Nahor's side. But as for you, I know going north was always my father's dream for you when your father passed, to see the land of his people.
Abram, you know Haran has become just as much a home to me as it is for you. But you know as well as I that your father, my grandfather, always intended for us to go all the way to Canaan.
Canaan? If I had a sheep for every time my father mentioned Canaan, I could fill all My father talked endlessly about venturing off to Canaan, but stopped short. Besides, you know as well as I how dangerous that road is. And if the family stories are to be believed, I don't think they would exactly welcome sons of Shem.
But Abram, don't you feel there might be more out there? More to seize and explore? Our family has done exceedingly well here, but I can't help feel like Terah wanted more for me. I know you're comfortable here, Abram. You're content with this life.
What's that supposed to mean?
You're content with what you have, Abram. That's all I'm saying. You don't seem to yearn for more, that's all.
Don't act like you've suffered here in Haran, Mod. It is comfortable here. We've made a life here. When they're grown, your daughters will find husbands here. And soon, you'll have a dynasty of your own. And my father's wealth and livestock will only make you all more comfortable.
Comfortable? Abram, comfortable? Sure, it's comfortable. But you know what else it is? Stifling. We're like trees stuck in the shadow of Nahor's dynasty. We're not gonna grow. We're gonna be like shrubs, little tiny shrubs. Look, Terah, he loved me like a son, and I'll always be grateful, believe me, but that's not gonna get us anywhere. You know the laws of the land, Abram. We're stuck here, growing only as tall as Nahor lets us. And I'm telling you, Abram, it's driving me crazy.
Nahor is our kin. He is my brother, and your uncle. We have nothing to fear from him. Your fortune is secure. I don't understand where this is coming from.
Abram, let me stop you right there. You know what you and I are? Self-made men. That's what we are. Sure, we had a leg up, I'm not denying that, but look at what we've done. We've turned a profit with every single thing that was handed to us. We didn't just sit on it, we worked on it. But don't you ever wonder, Abram, what we really are made of? What's in here?
Lot's questions stung. Abram had a dysfunctional relationship with greatness and legacy. Having no child of his own or any hope for one on the horizon, he knew whatever he gained would be dispersed among his servants and relatives. Nothing would live on beyond him. Abram didn't aim for greatness. Instead, he remained reliable, steady, and predictable.
I won't be made to feel guilty for being reliable. Between the two of us, we have a multitude of responsibilities. As for where I place my trust, I place it in my own hands. If those I'm responsible for find me lacking, what kind of man would I be? So, no, I do not wonder what I am made of, because I must find the answer every day. Every day I can put money in the hands of my workers or food in the bellies of my household, and I discover what I am made of. And I haven't failed them yet.
I love you, Abram, and I always will. You've always been a bit of a brother to me. And you're everything an older brother should be. Your sense of duty and loyalty are unmatched. I'm just thinking about your father. He stopped short of his dreams, and when I look back on my life, I want to feel like I did something of significance. that I achieve something that no one else has done before. Maybe, just maybe, that something is in the land of Canaan. You've heard the stories, right? Our distant relatives, the line of Ham. They're cursed, Abram, cursed. And yet there they are, sitting in seats of power. And then there's me. I don't want to just be another name, Abram. Just another name in a long, endless list of men from the line of Noah.
And you would become a conqueror and lead your family into a war for significance. Don't you feel that you are already contributing to this legacy, to our nation?
Don't you sometimes wonder what it would be like to have a nation all of your own? To make a name for yourself, rather than relying on the name of another?
And as much as he was reluctant to admit it, Abram did consider Lot's words. When Lot took his leave, Abram wandered to the upper levels of his father's house. He at last found himself on the roof, staring out over the packed city, and wondered if he would ever grow accustomed to this feeling. The babble of all manner of man and beast from below created a steady drumbeat that pulsed against his eardrums and sent his mind racing. That's when he heard it, a voice whispering through the cacophony of city noise.
Abram.
Abram turned. He was alone. He scanned the rooftop, searching for the source of the voice. The world around him became quiet and still. Again, he heard the voice calling out to him.
Abram.
Who's there?
Come to me.
The voice called out again, this time from below the house. Abram ran down the stairs, following the sound of the voice. It called him outside, then down the alleyway.
Abram.
Abram ran through the busy streets, bumping into vendors and tripping over carts. The voice was calling to him from outside the gates. Abram sprinted out of the gates and down the dirt path leading to the pastures of his father's flock. The evening breeze whistled through the valley, carrying the voice calling to Abram again.
Abram.
Abram stopped at a large terebinth tree. The starlight shone through the breaks in the leaves, causing a dance of shadow and light on Abram's face. The voice spoke again, this time gently. It spoke to him and through him. Abram could feel the presence of the voice, but couldn't capture its source.
Abram.
Here I am.
Abram, you are to go out from your land. Leave your father's house and your relatives behind, and go to the land I will show you.
Still grappling with the words he was hearing, Abram was suddenly stunned to find that images of a familiar terrain and a worn road flashed in his mind. The road led southwest out of the city toward Canaan, and flashes of lush valleys and cascading falls appeared before him.
Today, I will make you a promise. I will make you into a great nation. I will bless you. Follow me, and I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing to the entire world.
Again, images of a future Abram could barely understand flickered in and out of focus in his mind's eye faster than he could discern, but the intent was clear. He was to have a legacy like the one Lot pined for. No, greater even. So much more significant and vast than either of them could have imagined.
What's more, I will bless those who bless you. I will curse anyone who treats you with contempt, and all the peoples of earth will be blessed through you.
As if to emphasize that final word, Abram felt the presence press onto his shoulders like a mighty weight. The manifestation of the mantle inexplicably thrust upon him. Despite the strangeness of what had just happened, he somehow found the pressure comforting. And as abruptly as the voice had begun speaking and the presence surrounded him, the weight dematerialized to a quiet, comforting presence that wrapped itself in the back of his mind. It was barely noticeable, but within reach if he dared access it.
Fall is in the air, and that cooler weather calls for an update in your skincare. Moisturizing is key to keeping wrinkles at bay. That's why we need a skincare routine that's easy, fast, and gives us results. Plus, what if your products had thousands of 5-star reviews, were natural and affordable? Well, say hello to Dime Beauty. Dime Beauty is clean, high-end skincare that is affordable, and it really works. Not sure where to start? I highly recommend the Work System. It's everything you need in one powerful package. Take out the guesswork with a proven routine that includes a gentle yet effective cleanser, a super skin toner, 2 incredible serums, and 2 luxurious moisturizers. See what everyone is raving about. From serum sets to the always sold-out retinol alternative TBT cream, you'll find your perfect skincare match. Dime has over 2 million happy customers, and their product reviews are literally 5 stars. Love your skin again. Go to dimebeautyco.com and unlock your discount. That's dimebeautyco.com. That's dimebeautyco.com.
If you're ready for an epic family vacation, there's no better place than sunny Orlando. Exciting thrills, never-ending food festivals, fresh new dining experiences, outdoor adventures, and Florida's natural springs, and so much more. Orlando has it all. And Visit Orlando's vacation planners can help you plan the perfect trip. In Orlando, anything is possible if you can imagine it. And that's what makes Orlando unbelievably real. Plan your escape today and save at visitorlando.com.
The ability to protect our savings and hold on to wealth we can pass down gets harder every day. While currencies rise and fall, one asset has stood the test of time: physical gold. Many are turning to physical gold and silver to help protect accounts like IRAs and 401ks. Text the word iHeart to 50505. Preserve Gold is giving away a free precious metals guide on how to help protect your accounts and get up to $15,000 in free gold and silver with a qualified purchase. Text iHeart to 50505 to claim this offer from Preserve Gold today. PreserveGold.com/iHeart.
A ways off, a cool breeze off the Euphrates River drifted up to meet the 2 women reclining on a different roof overlooking the city. Abram's wife, Sarai, hosted Lot's wife, Edith, while their husbands settled their great patriarch's affairs. Sarai pretended to listen to Edith as she prattled on about the latest gossip in town. She longed for the arrival of Abram so that she could remove herself from the intensity of the other woman's rant.
And you know Ado, she's going to smile and host her new son-in-law's family as if the match was her idea all along. She'll never admit that he's simply not good enough for her daughter. But I'll tell you one thing, Sarai, I would never stand for that. When my girls are old enough, no one but the wealthiest men will do for them as husbands. I won't settle for anything else. Don't you agree?
Sarai half-heartedly opened her mouth to reply, but Lot's wife continued without waiting for a response.
Oh, right. Well, I suppose you won't need to worry yourself about that, but I'm sure you agree in principle. And you know what my Lot always says? The wealth of this city is steady and stable. It's all the same families exchanging the same coins over and over again. No movement up or down. No real competition if you're the sort that has your eyes on advancement. But I hear that the lands in Canaan are untamed, and there are fortunes to be had if you're bold enough to take it. Wealth you can't even imagine. Wealth that would put Ur and Haran to shame.
Mercifully, Sarai saw the top of Abram's head emerge as he climbed the steps to the roof, sparing her from enduring any more of Edith's insensitive remarks and frenzied daydreaming about adding to their already substantial wealth.
Well, I suppose I should get back to oversee the dinner preparations. Abram, is Lot with you? Or did he go home already?
He must be at home. We parted ways earlier.
Lot's wife took her leave, but Abram lingered on the roof. Something was on his mind. Sarai waited expectantly for her husband to gather his thoughts. They had long been married. She could see the determination in his eyes. He had his mind made up about something. He strode to the roof's edge and began speaking as he stared over the city.
Sarai, I have something to tell you.
Yes, Abram, I'm listening.
I'm going to take our family out of Haran. We will begin making arrangements immediately. We will drive all our livestock, take our possessions and all those who work for us, and head south toward Canaan.
Abram, help me understand what you mean. I thought we were settled here in Haran. Going south now, of all times? We're established here. We're comfortable. And besides, who would care for our father's estate if we were to leave? Would we leave that responsibility to Nahor? To Lot?
I suppose we may take whoever is willing to join us. I will need to speak to Lot tomorrow. As early as possible if he is to join us, and make preparations as well.
Sarai was too stunned to respond, so Abram continued and tried to explain the supernatural phenomenon that had overcome him in the alleyway.
Abram, look at me. Are we to upend our entire way of life on the words of a random god?
Abram turned to his wife and struggled to find his words. He scanned her face, accessing and questioning, undoubtedly weighing whether or not he would bring her into the inner workings of his mind, his heart. Sarai yearned for partnership, not lordship, but she didn't know where to begin when it came to Abram. Sarai, in return, searched his face, but found only resolve, an immovable, impenetrable wall of conviction.
You have to trust me, Sarai. I have weighed the cost, but more importantly, I know in my heart that we must follow the words of this God.
So you've already decided then?
Abram averted his eyes from Sarai's helpless stare and turned again to look over the city, already calculating and planning the journey ahead.
I have. It is what is right.
And that settled the matter. Sarai knew better than to pry and argue. At times, Abram was this locked vault of thoughts and emotions. She could feel his head churning. She wished she could access his mind. She yearned for that type of intimacy. Yet, even so, she knew his character.
If this is your conviction, then I will follow you.
Abram glanced her way briefly, slid his hand over to hers. She took it and squeezed. Abram had been amazed, flattered even, at how many had chosen to come with him out of Haran. Even months later and hundreds of miles later, he still marveled at the sheer numbers of people and animals that sprawled out behind him when he led their odyssey from the head of the vast column. Abram decided to scout ahead with Lot, who had unsurprisingly jumped at the chance to accompany Abram, and a small group of hand-picked men. They had just passed into the land of Canaan, and the city of Shechem lay before them, nestled on the shoulder of Mount Ebal. The land of Canaan was occupied by a savage and war-loving people. Though Abram and Lot had brought men who could fight, their fighting numbers would easily be inconsequential if confronted head-on by the brutal Canaanites. Abram waited for Lot and the others to return with a report in the shade of a gnarled, twisted oak tree. It was then that the same otherworldly stillness came upon Abram. Birdsong, insect buzzing, and wind alike ceased as if to give their attention to the mighty presence suddenly upon Abram. Sweat beat down his brow. He turned to Lot and Sarai.
I'll be back. Wait here for me.
Abram left to find a solitary place. His heart ached in his chest to hear the voice whisper again. He summited a small grassy hill where wildflowers swayed gently to the breeze. He sat on a stone and waited. Since leaving, Abram had wondered if he was following a figment of his imagination, or if the God he chose to follow was some sort of trickster. But there, on that blooming foothill, the Creator spoke.
Abram, you answered my call and left your land. You left your father's house, and now, here you are.
Yes, I have done what you asked. Now what?
You have been faithful so far in what I have asked you. Because of your faithfulness, I will uphold my promise to you. You now stand on the land that I will one day give your offspring.
Abram's eyes widened. He tilted his head upward in confusion and trepidation.
My offspring?
Yet there was no more answer. Abram nodded reverently as he felt the mighty presence dissipate, though he could still sense a remnant in the back of his mind. Abram didn't know why this God chose him. He wasn't a substantial or charismatic man. He wasn't even the greatest in his household. How would he accomplish all it had foretold? Even still, with this God's voice reverberating in his mind, he felt a confidence flicker in his heart. He could become great. Still, alone in the shade of the bent oak tree, he began to pace and plan his next move.
I will lead my people further into the land of Canaan. We will pitch our tents and create a stronghold beside Bethel.
Abram again felt that stirring of confidence in his heart, as if to affirm his decision. Prompted by this encouragement, he considered another response to the call. Having always been a man of business and transitions, he wondered what this God would require in return. Surely the gift of land and legacy would warrant an offering. He had grown up seeing his father and neighbors make offerings to the various gods of the land, but he was no longer in their domain, and he sensed this God wasn't one he had ever encountered before. Abram decided to mark this agreement with this new God and offer his gratitude by building an altar here in this very spot. He also decided that when they were settled by Bethel, he would build another altar there, so that his newly kindled faith would burn bright at the ever-present reminder. When Abram's men and Lot returned, they built the first altar together. Abram stood back from their work and again felt that pulse of assurance in his heart. He gazed up at the twisted oak tree that had towered over them while they worked, and smiled at the thought of it serving as a landmark of this monumental moment. Perhaps it would even stand and serve as a reminder to his great nation long after he was gone.
Fall is in the air, and that cooler weather calls for an update in your skincare. Moisturizing is key to keeping wrinkles at bay. That's why we need a skincare routine that's easy, fast, and gives us results. Plus, what if your products had thousands of 5-star reviews, were natural and affordable? Well, say hello to Dime Beauty. Dime Beauty is clean, high-end skincare that is affordable, and it really works. Not sure where to start? I highly recommend the Work System. It's everything you need in one powerful package. Take out the guesswork with a proven routine that includes a gentle yet effective cleanser, a super skin toner, 2 incredible serums, and 2 luxurious moisturizers. See what everyone is raving about. From serum sets to the always sold-out retinol alternative TBT cream, you'll find your perfect skincare match. Dime has over 2 million happy customers, and their product reviews are literally 5 stars. Love your skin again. Go to dimebeautyco.com and unlock your discount. That's dimebeautyco.com. That's dimebeautyco.com.
When the time comes to plan your next big getaway, know we got a destination idea for you. Orlando. Just think about it. The thrills at their 15 world-class theme parks, followed by awesome outdoor adventures, amazing food festivals, and top-notch dining spots. Orlando has all that and much more than you'd expect. In Orlando, anything is possible if you can imagine it. Plan your escape today and save at visitorlando.com. That's visitorlando.com for everything you need for an amazing getaway.
Is the U.S. dollar headed for destruction? With inflation still at a 40-year high, we are living in unpredictable times. That's why you should consider physical gold and silver to help protect your accounts like IRAs and 401ks. Text the word iHeart to 50505. Preserve Gold is giving away a free precious metals guide on how to help protect your accounts and get up to $15,000 in free gold and silver with a qualified purchase. Text iHeart to 50505 to claim this exclusive offer from Preserve Gold today. PreserveGold.com/iHeart.
Wow, what an incredible story. Abraham was called to leave his country, his people, and his father's household to go to a land that God himself would show him. This introduces a pivotal moment in the biblical narrative and the Hebrew story. It introduces the Abrahamic covenant, as we say in Hebrew, the Brit, which would be foundational for the story of Israel and God's redemption plan for the world. This covenant, this Brit, wasn't just for Abraham, but for his descendants, the nation of Israel. And ultimately, it's for all of us who choose to step out in faith and follow the God of all creation. This covenant, this Brit, was a promise. Listen to these words from Genesis 12:2. I will make you into a great nation, and I will bless you. I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing. Through Abraham, all nations would be blessed. And this promise was not merely about land or descendants, it was about God's promise to bring redemption. How powerful. This is what stands out for me. God didn't choose Abram because he was already great. No, God said to Abram, follow me and I will make you great. You see, greatness isn't a prerequisite for God's blessing. He chooses the people on the fringe, the outcasts and the lonely, and makes them into something great. It isn't about who you were when God chose you, about who you will become once you follow him. Faith and obedience. The call of Abram is rich with biblical motifs. Faith and obedience, divine promise, separation and consecration. These aren't just ancient themes, they're crucial threads woven into our stories. Do you see it? Do you feel it? It's talking to us. Let's start with these themes of faith and obedience. God called Abram to leave everything familiar. He had to leave his country, his people, and his father's household. And what did Abram do? He left. No GPS, no detailed itinerary, no real plan, just a promise from God. How often do we find ourselves in situations like Abram's, that God calls us to step out from what we were doing, to leave the known for the unknown, to trust him with our future? That's huge. And it happens in our lives all the time. It might be a job change, move to a new city, a relationship that needs mending, or a ministry that he's calling us to. And like Abram, we have to decide. Do we trust God enough to obey? Do we believe his promises are true? Or do we try to ignore what God is saying? Try to pretend like he's not talking to us? This brings us to the divine promise that Abram received. God promised Abram land, descendants, and blessing. He said, I will make you into a great nation and I will bless you. I will make your name great and you will be a blessing. But this promise wasn't just for Abram. It was a promise for future generations, and it's a reminder to us that God's promises are true. And then there's the idea of separation and consecration. God called Abram to leave his past behind, to step into a new identity and future. This is often where we struggle the most. We cling to the familiar, to our comfort zones, to our past successes, and even our past mistakes. But God calls us to something greater. He calls us to leave behind what holds us back and to dedicate ourselves to his purposes, to always be in renewal. God calls us to bravely step forward into his future. You see, for me, this is very personal. 2 decades ago, God called me and my husband to step forward in faith to something greater. We were newlyweds. Both of us were raised in America. My husband and I met in America. We studied in America. We got married just a few weeks before, and suddenly God called us to make Aliyah, to pick up our lives and move to Israel. It was a spiritual calling that God was putting on both of our hearts. The question, are you going to establish your roots and your lives in America, or in this prophetic time where I've opened up the gates of Jerusalem to you, are you going to leave your homeland behind and walk through those gates of Jerusalem to start something new? Well, ever since then, my husband and I have lived here in Israel, in our biblical and historic homeland, in the homeland that we learn about in each episode. We have 4 kids who were raised here in Israel, born in the mountains of Jerusalem. And it's an incredible story that worked out very well. But I have to admit, When I was in America, getting that call to leave everything behind and step out in faith to move to Israel, I was terrified. Both my husband and I were called to leave the only homes we ever knew, to leave our families in America, to come to a country where they speak a new language, where life is not easy, where terror is around almost every single street, almost every single day. What I realized, though, what my husband and I realized together is that sometimes stepping forward in faith and following God isn't always easy, but we have to do it anyways. I could imagine that it certainly wasn't easy for Abraham to do that, to leave the land that he knew, but it's very clear, my friends, it was worth it. I can tell you from experience that being uncomfortable is often the doorway to true purpose and destiny. The great Jewish sage Nachmanides suggested something interesting about Abraham after he moved to the land that God showed him, to the land of Israel. It was there that Abraham was meant to begin his ministry of teaching people about God. Nachmanides says that back in Abraham's hometown in Ur, in Mesopotamia, he also tried to teach about the one God. In the Holy Land, which already possessed that special quality of spirituality, people were more open to understanding Abraham's teachings of one God. As I think back to my own aliyah, my own coming home to the Holy Land, moving to Israel, I completely understand what Nachmanides is teaching and what Abraham probably experienced. While God and his word were important to me in the U.S., here in Israel, the spirituality somehow feels a lot deeper, a lot more relevant. The words of the Bible speak to me more loud and clear. It's not just theoretical, it's practical. It's not just in my head, but it's in front of my eyes. And that's why I'm so happy to be here with you on The Chosen People, where I try to share with you what I feel here in the Holy Land. And that is what the story of Abraham stepping out in faith is trying to tell us all, wherever in the world we are. Uncomfortable steps of faith are often doorways to greatness for God's chosen people. When we're following God's heart and God's will, it's not always comfortable, but it's always good. And Abraham's story is critical in proving this message as this continuing saga unfolds. We're going to see in our next teachings how Abraham's story sets the stage for the development of Israel as God's chosen people. The Abrahamic covenant is a cornerstone of God's plan for redemption for the Jewish people, but it also harkens to something beautiful for Christians. To speak more on that is my friend, Bishop Paul Lanier.
Thank you so much, Yael, and here we are in one of the most significant portions of Scripture to be found in all the Bible, whether it's in the Old Testament or the New Testament. This Genesis chapter 12 in particular, verse 3, where God says, I will bless those who bless you, and I will curse those, utterly destroy those who curse you. And at the beginning of this chapter, God instructs Abraham to turn his back, to walk away, to forsake the country and the family behind him. And if we leap over into the Christian scriptures to the book of Hebrews, chapter 11, we read that indeed Abraham did this as an act of faith, quote, for a city whose builder and maker is God. And in the book of Galatians, the Apostle Paul says to us that Abraham is indeed the father of faith to all of us who believe. And what's remarkable, we can barely get out of the first sentence of verse 1, chapter 12, where God is already referring to the land. That's right. The souls of the Jewish people and the soil of the land of Israel are inseparable to God. And Abraham and Sarah don't even have a nursery, and already God's referring to a a nation and says, I will make your name great. In verse 4, we read about a nephew by the name of Lot, who's just one person in this cast. I think about Lot, and I think about Ishmael, and I think about Eliezer. But none of them were to be used strategically by God as seed in the founding of the Jewish nation. Only from the loins of Abraham and the womb of Sarah was this to be. And in verse 6 we read that Abraham passed through the land of Shechem or Shechem. Now I've been there, and I'm telling you, it's one thing to get in that place. It's entirely something else to get out of there now. It is the burial site of Joseph. And God refers to the descendants. You know, without covenant, you don't have descendants. You just have deductions. But Abraham and Sarah indeed did have descendants. And God says to your descendants, I will give this land. And this covenant man of Abraham, no, he did not build a tower. The Bible says he built an altar unto God. Well, in this altar moment, can I pray with you? Almighty God, I thank you for everyone who's listening to me now. I pray that as you are leading, guiding, and directing us, we will be completely yielded, and that we will pursue that city whose builder and maker is God. For all of this, we give you praise. Amen.
God's call to Abram highlights the concept of covenant, a reoccurring theme in Scripture that reflects God's commitment and faithfulness to his people. God makes promises and keeps them, even when we don't. Abram's story shows us a God who reaches out, a God who says, I will be your God and you will be my people. And this covenant isn't just about rules or regulations. It's a relationship based on trust and faith. And speaking of faith, as we say in Hebrew, emunah, let's talk about Abrahamic righteousness. In Genesis 15:6, we read, Abram believed the Lord and he credited it to him as righteousness. In Hebrew, the word for righteousness is tzedek. You see, righteousness, or tzedek, wasn't about Abram getting everything right. It was about his faith in God. Abram wasn't perfect. No, he had his moments of doubts and he made mistakes. We know that. But what set Abram apart was his faith, his willingness to trust God, his step out in obedience to leave the familiar for the unknown, for the godly. This kind of tzedek, this kind of righteousness is accessible to all of us. It isn't about perfect adherence to any sort of law, because remember, Abraham didn't have the Torah. He didn't yet have the law of Moses. What he started with was his heart and his connection to God. He didn't have the prophets. All he had was a still, quiet voice prompting him to move. And God doesn't expect us to be perfect. He doesn't even expect us to be like Abraham. He expects us to be like ourselves, but to be ourselves and to trust in him and his desire and plan for our individual lives. So as you live out your own faith today, I leave you as always with this special biblical blessing. Yivarechecha Hashem v'yishmerecha, Yair Hashem panav elecha v'yechunecha, Yisa Hashem panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face shine upon you. May the Lord be gracious to you. And may the Lord turn his face towards you and give you shalom, give you peace. With blessings from the Holy Land, this is Yael Eckstein, and you are listening to The Chosen People.
You can listen to The Chosen People with Yael Eckstein ad-free by downloading and subscribing to the pray.com app today. This pray.com production is only made possible by our dedicated team of creative talents. Steve Katina, Max Bard, Zach Schellebarger, and Ben Gammon are the executive producers of The Chosen People with Yael Eckstein, edited by Alberto Avila, narrated by Paul Coltofianu. Characters are voiced by Jonathan Cotton, Aaron Salvato, Sarah Seltz, Mike Reagan, Stephen Ringwald, Sylvia Zaradoc, and the opening prayer is voiced by John Moore. Music by Andrew Morgan Smith. Written by Bree Roseley and Aaron Salvato. Special thanks to Bishop Paul Lanier, Caleb Burrows, Jocelyn Fuller, and the team at International Fellowship of Christians and Jews. You can hear more pray.com productions on the pray.com app, available on the Apple App Store and Google Play Store. If you enjoyed The Chosen People with Yael Eckstein, please rate and leave a review.
Kroger brand products have the great taste you'll celebrate. That's why over 40 million people choose Kroger brand products, making them a true crowd pleaser. And with quality guaranteed, you'll love your choice or get your money back. Score Kroger brand products with savings you can cheer for and great taste you can't resist. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
If you're ready for an epic family vacation, there's no better place than sunny Orlando. Exciting thrills, never-ending food festivals, fresh new dining experiences, outdoor adventures, and Florida's natural springs, and so much more. Orlando has it all. And Visit Orlando's vacation planners can help you plan the perfect trip. In Orlando, anything is possible if you can imagine it. And that's what makes Orlando unbelievably real. Plan your escape today and save at visitorlando.com.
When it comes to getting you back to feeling right at home, Alpha's there by your side when you need us most. Handling your claims quickly, because now is better than soon, and paid is better than pending. We make sure everything's taken care of, so you can get back to what matters most. That's life with Alpha Insurance. Visit alphainsurance.com to learn more.